So Redfall came out recently, and it was a broken, horrible, laggy storm of a game. And that was not what they advertised. This isn't the first game like this, and it's not going to be the last. There have been so many games recently that have been released, have been broken, or have been misleading in their advertising, and it's only going to get worse. But first off, in this video, I'm going to explain why this is happening and why I think it'll get worse. With all these terrible games coming out, it kind of makes you wonder, why? Why do these games suck? Why does a game that costs $70 not even work? It all comes down to a fun little thing called inflation. Inflation is a wonderful little thing where all of the money you own becomes slowly more worthless over time, and as a result, everything you want to buy becomes more expensive. Games naturally just have to be more expensive in order to still get the same profit margins that they had before. The problem is that wages are not being kept up with inflation. So for developers, it makes sense. Of course, we're going to make the game $70. Of course, we're not going to sell a game that we put this much into for only $50, $60. Of course, it has to be $70. Because how else are we supposed to make a profit? But for us, for the people buying the games, our wages aren't all going up with inflation. Wages are not keeping up with inflation. And so for us, we just have a way more expensive game. And so now we're thinking, well, if this game's going to cost $70 of my hard-earned money, it better be damn good. This better be a really, really good game if it's going to be worth that price tag. And so our expectations are so high that these game developers have to make something incredible. They have to go above and beyond, make a game that's really impressive, that really goes far, that just goes the extra mile. And pulling that off is way harder. So they come out with these big promises to try and justify the price tag. Then they fail to deliver because it's way too big a promise from the beginning. And they especially fail to try and port these to PC, because porting to PC is so much more complicated than porting to Xbox or PlayStation. Because Xbox and PlayStation, you get the same parts, the same pieces, every time. With PC, there's 1,000 and an infinite number of different varieties of PCs out there that they have to try and optimize for. So you've got these crazy, ambitious games which are difficult to pull off and even more difficult to port. And as a result, you get angry customers who've paid $70 for a game where the trailers looked amazing and the game doesn't even work. The next reason video games kind of suck now. Release now, patch later. Attitude that companies take to making these games. In the past, they released on CDs, and so the game just had to work. They can't just come down to your house, fix up the CD, and make it work again. So, in the past, very strict testing, very, very careful to make sure that every game really seriously actually worked and didn't have any major game-breaking bugs or even minor bugs that just interfere with your ability to enjoy the game. But now, there is no reason for them to care. They can release the game, get huge sales, because people will still buy it. People will still pre-order these games. Despite the reputation some of these companies have, people still pre-order. And as a result, they get huge sales, get loads of money. Then they can just invest a bit of that money into patching the game, solving some of the issues. It's all good. They, no problems. They fixed it. They've made loads of money, and the game now works. From their perspective, it's all good. There's no issues there at all. For us, kind of sucks. Because you buy a game for a lot of money, and it doesn't work. But this brings me to the main reason why this is happening. The number one reason that if this were to change, if this one thing were to change, the entire situation would change. All of these games would change. This is the biggest problem and the biggest possible solution as well. And that is us. Why are we still buying these games? Why are people still pre-ordering games from companies that have horrible reputations, that have shown time and time again they will release broken games for crazy high prices, they'll be misleading with their advertisement. They wouldn't still be doing this if it didn't still make them money. It still makes them money because we still keep buying it. The problem is us. If we stop it, we'll be the solution. It's the same with microtransactions. Nobody likes microtransactions in video games. So why do they exist? Because we're too weak. We just buy them anyway. We have microtransactions in games. We don't want them there. But for some reason, enough of us are still paying for them that it works. That they don't need to change it. It's just become normal and accepted now. Especially for the younger generation, many of which may not even remember a time before microtransactions. So for them, it's not even a question. And that'll be the same with this release now, patch later attitude. To a lot of people, this will be all they know. This will be all they remember. The idea of having a game that works before it's released will be alien to them. This will just be the expected result. The reason? Because we're still buying them. Ultimately, it all comes down to us. Alright, so that's why it's happening. But now, why do I say it's going to get worse? Why do I think that not only is this not going to improve, but will actually start happening more, and we'll see more and more games doing this? Because nothing's changed. The economy still sucks. It's still very profitable for them to do this. And we aren't doing anything differently. We have all the power in this situation. They can't make any money if we don't buy their games. If we decide not to buy them, they'll have to change. If we go towards companies that behave the way we like, companies will start acting like those companies. If we just buy indie games, companies will just have to step up and improve their game. Literally. It's down to us. If we do things differently, we vote with our wallets. If we stop pre-ordering games for one, why are you pre-ordering a game? Why are you buying something that doesn't even exist yet? Why are you buying something you have not seen, that has not been reviewed, that you have no clue what it's going to play like? Because we already know that they will release trailers that do not represent the game whatsoever. They will release trailers for a game that never will exist, and then sell you some garbage. And you'll buy it, you'll eat it up. Why are you doing that? Stop that to start with. That's step one. And then just stop buying games that suck. Wait for the reviews. If the game's actually good, go ahead and buy it. Otherwise, stop. Just stop doing it. Stop buying microtransactions, for one. What's the point? Why are you feeding that? Just make changes. If we vote with our wallets, the situation will change. Games will improve. Since we're not going to do that, because we're too weak, I guess, we just can't resist those new games, those new trailers we see, we get too excited and just buy them. We're probably not going to do it. We could, but we probably won't, and the economy's not exactly going to improve, and games companies certainly aren't going to change. As long as it makes them money, they're not going to change. So that's why I say that the situation will probably get worse before it gets better. It's possible that it could get to a point where it gets so bad that things actually do change. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. But before we ever get to that point, it's going to get a lot worse before anybody is that motivated, I think. Yeah. That's my opinion on all this. Where maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. Please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinions. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please feel free to leave a like. If you want more like this, then I'd appreciate it if you subscribed.